Hello witches, wizards, and those who are yet to receive their Hogwarts school letters, welcome to my Harry Potter kitchen. This is the YouTube series where I'm baking my way through the Harry Potter books, making recipes for all of the food and drink we find inside. If you missed last week's recipe where we made a butterbeer twist on the world famous bubble tea, then make sure you check out the link down below in the description to catch up. And if it's your first time in the kitchen and you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell, and you'll get an alert every Magic Monday when there's a brand new recipe. Speaking of which, it's Monday, so let's head back into the chamber to see what's next. Okay, so let's head back into chapter 3, The Burrow, to see where we left off. So Harry, Ron, Fred and George are flying their way back to the Burrow in the car, and they think they've landed safely, but it's not too long before Mrs. Weasley is storming across the yard, and they can tell they're in trouble. But she is quite happy to see Harry, so they head off into the house, and in the kitchen we see some cookbooks. Charm Your Own Cheese, which sounds pretty cool. We made bread and cheese a few weeks ago. And Mrs. Weasley is also whipping up some breakfast. We've got sausages and eggs, which we also covered in our first episode, so check out the link down below in the description if you missed those. As part of their punishment, the boys are out into the garden and they have to de-gnome it, and I can see our next recipe. It was small and leathery looking with a large knobbly bald head, exactly like a potato. I don't know what we're going to do for this one, but let's give it a go anyway. If you'd like to recreate these potato gnome faces, all the ingredients you need and the method will be on my website, bradleybakes.co.uk. The link is down below in the description. If you've ever had potato smileys growing up or as an adult, then you'll know that they are an incredibly tasty potato-based treat. So we're going to try to recreate them today, but add a little bit of magic to them. And as this part of the book is dedicated to de-gnoming the garden, I thought we'd make our potato smileys look like gnomes. And if we've got any spare mash as well, we'll make some lightning bolts for you too. It's really, really easy to do this actually, and it's a great recipe to make with kids. So follow it along step by step, and I'll show you what you need to do. You want to start off by peeling your potatoes. Make sure you get a variety that's good for mashing or baking. Once you've peeled them, prevent them from going brown by placing them into some cold water. Once all your potatoes are peeled, you want to take them out of the water and then chop them into small chunks. The smaller the chunk, the larger the surface area and the quicker they'll cook. Place them back into your cold water until you're ready to use them. So that is all of our potatoes prepped, and as you'll know if you've had a potato smiley before, they're lovely and crisp on the outside, but inside it's beautifully fluffy potato. So what we're going to do for that is cook these first and turn them into mashed potato, and then all we need to worry about later is getting that nice crisp outer coat. Place a pot onto a medium-high heat and fill with water. Season this with salt and bring it up to the boil. Drain your potatoes and then place them into your pot. Stir around and allow to cook on a boil until the potatoes are nice and soft. Once your potatoes are lovely and cooked, they should be nice and soft, so you want to strain them from the water using a colander and then pop them into a bowl. Our potatoes are lovely and cooked. They're wonderfully soft and lovely and fluffy. So now all we need to do is mash them. I'm using a ricer, which has a nice lever to press the potatoes through these holes at the bottom. And we're going to do that straight into the pan, because that's still going to be a little bit warm. So that's going to help us melt the butter and incorporate our milk as well. So the potatoes need to go in, then we're going to season them, and then they'll be ready to shape. Place the potatoes into your ricer a few spoonfuls at a time. Press them through until nice and smooth. Once all your potatoes are mashed, season with salt and pepper. Add in your butter and a splash of milk. Keep on stirring through until all the butter has melted and the milk is well incorporated. So our mash is tasting wonderful, and now all we need to do is shape it into our potato gnomes and our lightning bolts. And for this, I'm actually going to use my ricer, but I've taken out the little disc with the holes in, and that's going to help me press it down to get a nice, even, flat circle. And then I'm going to use some fondant tools just to help me get that signature gnome shape. Now, in the illustrated edition of Harry Potter, it does have some incredible pictures of what these gnomes look like. If you want to go for a more conventional garden gnome, then of course you can do that as well. Or you've got the mash, so you can make any shape you want. Have fun and see what you come up with. Open your ricer and place it onto a lined baking tray. Add in 2 to 3 tablespoons of your potato and then press it down gently until you can feel the potato resisting. Then remove your ricer and you should have a nice even disc. Use your fingers and your fondant tools to create your gnome shapes. You can then use any leftover potato to make some additional shapes. I've gone with the signature lightning bolt. So there you go, our potato gnome faces and our lightning bolt are complete. And because they are gnomes, feel free to make these as ugly or as pretty as you like. Okay, next, these need to go into the freezer for at least an hour so they're nice and firm, and then we can coat them before moving on to the next step. Okay, so our potato gnomes are in the freezer, and just before they're done, we're gonna move on to heating up our oil to fry them and our coating. Now this is really, really easy. All we're gonna do is coat it in some seasoned flour, then coat it in some eggs, and then a little bit more flour before we fry them. That's gonna help create a nice shell that's gonna fry up and go nice and crispy, and then break into the middle and reveal that fluffy mashed potato. Place your flour, salt, pepper and paprika into a bowl and stir through until well combined. For our egg layer, we're simply going to crack the eggs into a bowl, season with salt and pepper, and then whisk together until well combined. Gently remove your gnomes and lightning bolt potato shapes off the baking tray and then dip them into the flour. Make sure they're well coated and then pop them back onto the tray. Once you've coated the potato gnomes with the first layer of flour, dip them into the eggs and make sure they're well coated, and then finish off with another layer of flour. Shake off any excess and then pop these into the hot oil. It should start bubbling rapidly straight away, and you want to fry them for about 1 minute on each side. Flip them over and then allow them to go golden brown. Once they're fully fried, remove them from the oil and allow them to drain on the side. My favourite thing about this recipe is that once you get to this stage, if you don't want to eat them straight away, you can let them cool, pop them into the freezer, and then anytime you get a craving for some potato gnome smileys, you can take them out, put them into the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then they will be as good as fresh. But if you're like me and you cannot resist the smell of freshly cooked potato, chips, roast potatoes, it's amazing. So I'm gonna tuck straight in. The only question is, what sauce should I use? So there you have it, our potato gnome smileys are complete, and I am pretty happy with how these turned out. I love that the coating flakes off as you fry them, and it gives it a pretty realistic dry skin look that a gnome might have. And of course you can personalize the faces however you like. So let me know down below in the comment, what sort of emotion would your gnome have? Happy, sad, shocked? Just let me know in the comments below. That's all for this week's recipe. If you want to see more from my Harry Potter kitchen, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell, and you'll get an alert every Magic Monday when there is a brand new recipe. I'm about to tuck into these carbs, so I'll see you next week. I would not complain if these were in my garden.